The main thing about any change management process is about good communication. Obviously, if you have decided that there's a change, then you need to get them together and talk to them about the communication elements of why the change is necessary. If you want to tell them that there's a change coming, you've kind of got to give them the problem and then, the solution that you've come up with, and then outline to them how that solution or how that change process is actually going to look when it's rolled out in the organisation. Now, depending on the size of the organisation, this is going to change, right? Some changes are only little, they'll only affect one team, but if you've got organisation-wide change, the main thing is about letting people know what's the problem that the change is actually going to solve. Because if you don't communicate that to them, you don't get any of them kind of supporting the rollout of that change. And in fact, you'll get active resistance to the change. It's being clear about the fact that you're observing that there's a problem. So when you're communicating the fact that there's a problem, you also need to let them know why that is a problem for the business. Sometimes as leaders, we just get into that space where it's kind of like, well, I want this to change, but we don't explain, well, this is how it's affecting the business. This is, why it needs to change. This is why it needs to change in this time frame or what we're trying to achieve. And without giving them that strategic overview of what it is that you're trying to get to, you won't actually bring them along the way. I've seen it, especially in large organisations where somebody gets this great idea, in particular with regards to a way that we should manage our knowledge in terms of how we electronically store things, but they don't actually communicate to everybody what the problem is about where the storage was causing a problem or why we were having that issue, so that then they understood why the change was necessary. Because if we don't actually make it clear about why the change is necessary, they just dig in their heels and decide that it's just change for change's sake and we don't want to do that anymore. And it's also important to recognise that as leaders, especially when we come in new, we always want to feel like we're making an active contribution, and sometimes that means we want to create a change process, even though that change process may not necessarily be necessary.